Coming up on this episode, I'm sitting down trying to get my mind back online after a few weeks of being ill. Now, I know my mind has been on autopilot and it's time to get it out of that. For me, I do that by sitting down and forcing myself to think through things. Whether I like it or not, whether they're useful information or not, it's important to just kind of go through those motions. Like, in my head now, I'm got myself like mentally limbering up, doing some star jumps and all of that. But that's what the mind needs to do. Like it may not be the most exotic or extravagant exercises, but it gets the mind moving, having a few thoughts and just running a few mental experiments or whatever else. Just letting that mind wander a bit and just kind of loosening it up. It does wonders for you. Trust me, like, at least for me, I know I can't sit here for too long without having some kind of thought. So I want that thought to be as on the ball as I can be. And I haven't been feeling on the ball lately. So I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna go through some thoughts. I'm gonna talk to myself until my mind feels a little bit sharper. And I'm gonna keep doing that because that's the only way I know how to sharpen my mind is to keep using it. So without more rambling, let's go use this mind and get into this episode. What's going on, beautiful people? This is the Perspective Chasers podcast, and I'm your host, John. On this episode, I'm going to talk about bringing your mind back online. Now, obviously, I've been ill for the last couple of weeks, and I still am kind of shaking a bit of it off, and that's, I guess, what's inspired this episode, because, like, I was thinking about, I mean, even if you look back at the last few episodes, Big Dave's been carrying this bad boy, like, although my mind's been chirping up here and there, it's really not been its usual kind of chatty self. And that's really weird for me. Like, I always have some kind of thoughts going on in my mind and everything else. And getting ready for this episode, I kind of thought about, like, well, what have I been thinking about lately? And man, it was just nothing, just crickets. And then that kind of spiraled its own little rabbit hole of just like, well, why haven't I been thinking? And for the first time in a while, I watched a couple of movies, and that was literally just because I wanted to recharge and switch off a little bit. But again, like there was no kind of coherent thoughts there of my own, or at least not that I've noticed too much. Like, don't get me wrong, like the films I watched, I rewatched The Matrix 1 and 2, and it's definitely very interesting to watch now that they're nearly 30 years old. So I don't know, it definitely did make my mind kind of turn, and it did get things going again a bit, but I don't know, it's hard for me to piece together like the coherent thoughts and the thoughts where I'm like, yeah, that's me. So that's kind of what this episode's about. Like, I guess one, just seeing if I can talk again without coughing my guts up. Also to see if my mind's there and like how much it's there. Even like before recording this episode, I was like, oh, am I gonna get it done? What am I gonna talk about? This, that, and everything else. And like, as much as, yeah, I struggle to sometimes think about what to do an episode about, like, when we're talking about perspective or like what's kind of been going on in my life or subsequent lives around me or whatever, there's normally quite a bit to pick from. But then it's just if the mind's there, like if the mind ain't there, you could have the most fascinating, most fun things to talk about or most fascinating experiences, but then not want to talk about them or whatever else. Like, I don't know. There is a lot that is fascinating now. I think just in my illness, I've kind of become a little bit too reliant on, not even too reliant on Dave, because it is nice to kind of lean on Dave and let him kind of lead the pod a little bit. It brings in a new dynamic, which is always valuable. It's just from my own side of things, like I don't like to feel that I'm not bringing anything to the table. So trying to get my mind back on top is, yeah, it's a challenge because like like I said, I'm ill as well, so that my mind doesn't really want to be in books or overly in podcasts or anything. I really do just want to kind of switch off and mong at the minute. And that's hard to do where you live a life as busy as mine. Like, if I'm not working, I'm on dad duty or doing podcasting or whatever. So, like, there's always something that's pulling me from here to there. So to find the time to actually sit down and just do nothing is fairly rare. But it's the same sense of like, I kind of noticed about this illness, why it's lingering so long, is because I never really get proper rest. I've always got something to do and I'll just suck it up and I'll just crack on. That just means it takes me longer to get better. And like, that is life, unfortunately. Like, some of us can come to a complete standstill and just recover and this, that, and everything else. Not all of us can. Unfortunately, I've got to keep things moving. I've still got to be a dad. I've still got to go to work. I've still got to do all of these things. No matter how I feel, I've got to suck it up. And a big consequence or a big price of that is my mind. I have to go into like autopilot mode where I just don't even think. I don't talk to people. I don't think about anything. I just do. But then you got to get yourself out of that. And it's not so easy done because you get complacent and this and everything else. And I feel like in a bit of that mode at the minute. Like, I really could have just lounged around all of today and done sweet F all. But really and truly, what good would it have done me? Like, all of this time I've managed to push through, get the shorts done, get the episodes done and everything else. And I am glad and I'm proud of myself that the pods kept going through the illness and everything else. But I ain't pushed through all of that to stop now. See, it's time to get back on track. It's time to wake the mind back up. And again, it's one of those things, like, at the minute, it seems like such a slog. Like, my body just wants to mong and do nothing. If I do that, if I do that for the whole time, once I come out of it, I've got to get everything moving again, and that is going to be another slog. Whereas if I can just keep things going, keep things pushing forward and this and everything, and again, it's probably the workaholic in me that just can't leave things alone. But it works for me. Like, I know that if I was coming back from being ill for 2, 3 weeks and I had done no content whatsoever, I would be beating myself up something silly. If I'd had 2, 3 weeks off of work, I would be beating myself up. If I'd have had even a week off of dad duty, I'd have been beating myself up. So some things in life are just non-negotiables. And yeah, they're non-negotiables for me. And I admit it makes my life a bit harder sometimes. They're the things that make my life better. Like, obviously my daughter, without hesitation, makes my life leaps and bounds better. But it can be taxing at times. Like, when I'm ill myself and she's ill and it's just, we're just snotting on each other. Like, it's not pleasant. But again, like, not seeing my daughter and just laying in bed and feeling sorry for myself ain't gonna do me any more favors. I might get the rest or whatever else, but my heart and my mind, they just won't feel the same. So, like, all of these different aspects of yourself, like I say, like, I could lay there and I could feel sorry for myself and I can feel ill and da 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 da. But if I start to feel that, like, what I've been pursuing or what I'm passionate about is slipping away from my hands and all of that, yeah, that's when I get my back up and then I'm like, okay, now it's go time again. Because I don't know, like, no matter what's going on in life, I've got my non-negotiables. And yeah, that is one of them, I guess. Just making it happen, like, it really is. I don't know, like I say, my mind's still slowly coming back online, so I don't have too many coherent thoughts, so please forgive me. But the thing is, like, just sitting here and trying has helped. And if anything, it's it's let me know that I'm still here trying. And sometimes that's the biggest thing. Like, in the next couple of days, I'll be gearing to record more, and hopefully my mind will come more back online a bit more. Dave's going to be back for another episode, hopefully. It's going to be another bit of a juggle week. Little one's on half term this week, so there's, again, juggling to be had. But again, all of these different challenges and everything else, like we had to juggle last week to get Tuesday's episode or Wednesday's episode done. And yeah, I don't know, like sometimes the harder it is to get an episode done, the more reward I find in getting it done in the end. Like I said that in such a backwards way. Sometimes the harder it is to get an episode done, the more rewarding it is once it's complete. And I don't know, I think a lot of the ill episodes are like that, simply because you don't want to do them. But again, you've showed up, you've put in the work, this, that, and everything else. And I do think there are valuable things to be had from those episodes. Like this one might be a bit more questionable because I'm on my own rambling and my mind is just all over the gaff. But again, like if it's simply just a lesson in, look, even if you don't feel up to it, just do. Like sometimes you just have to blindly do for a while until everything comes back online. Like I'm reminded of those birds that just can fall asleep in midair and just fly while they're cruising. Sometimes you just need to do that. You just need to lock out your wings and just cruise and just make the distance up. Like it's not glamorous, it's not fun, it's not grandiose or whatever, but it gets the job done. And once you've recharged, you can pick up and you can really start flying again. But for now, sometimes you got to coast. And coasting's alright, but it's always about remembering not to get stuck there. There's kind of, I think that's the good thing about the frequency of my episodes is that like, even when life does get hectic and everything else, if I do think about getting a bit complacent, straight away I've got to pick it up again. Like yesterday I kind of chilled around a little bit. Yeah, I still had to do work. It was just in the evening that I didn't. Anyway, like you'll find your way regardless. And if you're somebody like me that is a workaholic and that needs that kind of, oh, I done this, I done this, I done this, so I can relax. Taking your foot completely off the gas isn't going to help. Like, you need a few things taking over just so you know that you're still with it. Because otherwise, you just kind of get a little bit lost. And that lost feeling doesn't help the sickness feeling. So, yeah, I'm trying to think, is there any more rambling I can do on this? I don't know. Being ill was funny. Like, and funnily enough, I actually had a few dreams lately that, like, my life can be so hustle and bustle sometimes. Like, I don't always take time to kind of relax and account for my dreams and kind of explore my dreams. But where I've been doing a lot more sleeping than I usually do, I guess I've been doing a lot more dreaming too. And it's been fun to kind of delve into that side of the mind where, I mean, for the most part, we don't actually understand a lot of what dreams are and this and that. And that's always fascinating to me. So just having that time to kind of explore those realms and just kind of take a wander around. Yeah, that's been fun. It has been nice to take my foot off the gas a little bit, but yeah, it's definitely feeling like grind time again. And I do miss having coherent thoughts and letting my mind genuinely wander. But I think that's why I watched The Matrix. Like, I was listening to a podcast through work that mentioned it, and I was like, do you know what? It's been a long time since I've delved back through that film, and that there is a lot that that film touches on. It's fascinating for one reason or another. So just taking that time and just kind of definitely with this more kind of more of a philosophical mindset, sitting down and watching it and seeing kind of how things unfold and how how it all kind of plays out. Like when you think about it, that film was written in the 90s. That's when I was born. And the world then was very different to what the world is now. And it's very different to what the world was portrayed to be in The Matrix. But it's definitely interesting to see where things go and how people's ideas snowballed out and cascaded out into different things and where they was right and where they was wrong. Like, I think in a lot of, well, there was a lot of films in the 90s that came out that were very I think post-apocalyptic and kind of like very doomsday kind of, whether it be because it was like coming up to the year 2000 and there was a lot of things about that, and it's definitely interesting going back to look at all of those things now and just seeing like the world that people were predicting over the next coming years and kind of what's happening now. I mean, we actually are in the world of AI now, and that world's unfolding a lot differently than we perceived beforehand. And it's fascinating. And now all of these kind of ideas and all of the things that people are experiencing now, they're going to cascade out into new ideas and new films and all of these other mad things. Like, damn, it is absolutely insane to try to keep track of all of the different like cascading and dominoing elements in life out there. Anyway, I think I'm gonna wrap that up because my throat's starting to get a little bit. I really don't want to cough. But the seed for this episode is going to be take some time and sit with your thoughts. Ask yourself, have you actually been having coherent thoughts lately? Because I know I haven't. Like, there's been noise, there's been kind of like commentary on life, but there's not been genuine thoughts. I've not been like contemplating things or picking things apart or trying to get to the bottom of things. I've literally just been autopilot. So I want to come out of that. So the only way for me, well, the best way I know how to do that is to genuinely try and have some coherent thoughts. Pick a few things and try to delve deep with them, even if they don't serve a full purpose. Just kind of go for the exploration and see where it goes. Test your mind and yeah, have fun exploring. Don't let your mind go too kind of stagnant. All the best, and I'll catch you in the next one.